Jerry Rice, Brian Mitchell, Walter Payton, Emmett Smith, and Frank Gore. These are the only players who have racked up more all-purpose yards than Darren Sproles. Coming in at 5'6", he isn't the shortest player ever. That award goes to Jack Soapy Shapiro. There have also been a couple players who are 5'5", Deuce Vaughn and Trindon Holiday, but these players didn't have the career Darren Sproles did. He is still in the top 5 shortest players ever, and he is undoubtedly the best of the bunch. But he didn't come to excel in the NFL without any setbacks. He was nicknamed Tank by his father as he weighed 10 pounds at birth, and he was set to face plenty of doubt. It was mainly my parents. They always told me, don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do anything. And if they do tell you that, you work hard to prove them wrong. One of the obstacles he had to overcome was his speech impediment. He was teased and bullied from a young age because of it. Sproles first noticed his stutter at age 4. When he was young, he recalled his grandfather once telling him, don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do anything because you stutter. In junior high, he started going to a speech pathologist. He started going twice a week, his father said. He's always been a person who didn't talk too much. He was one of the finalists for the Heisman Trophy at Kansas State. He was so glad when he didn't win. One reason? He didn't want to give that speech. As more began to notice his impressive skills, more attention came, and in turn forced him to speak more. He took proactive steps to address his stutter, even choosing to major in speech pathology. This education, along with working with a speech pathologist, helped him handle interviews more comfortably. Today he helps kids who struggle with stuttering through school events, community foundations, and inspiration. So he attended Olathe North High School, where he would rush for 5,230 yards and 79 touchdowns, averaging nearly 8.4 yards per carry. In his senior year, he rushed for 2,485 yards and 49 touchdowns, leading his team to a 12-0 record and their 4th Kansas 6A state title in 5 years. He was recognized as the Kansas Hall of Fame Player of the Year and USA Today Kansas Player of the Year. While he wasn't a top recruit for any of the big programs, he received offers from Kansas and Kansas State University. Unfortunately, it was around this time that Sproles would face a major setback. His mother was diagnosed with colon cancer. He wanted to be close to his mother, and so Kansas University was where he initially decided. However, his mother encouraged to choose the best school for him, and he ultimately decided to go to Kansas State. He would lose his mother, Annette, aged 41, in 2004 while at Kansas State. And this is from the former Kansas State running back coach, Michael Smith. When he lost his mother, Coach Schneider, being the coach he was, packed up a bunch of buses, and we drove to Kansas City and went to the funeral. We were there for Darren not only as coaches and teammates, but as brothers. I think that meant a lot to Darren. I think 2-3 days later, he was back in Manhattan going about business as usual. And today he still carries her presence with him. I think about her every day and miss her every day. She always told me 2 things. Remain humble and always stay true to yourself. I've carried those words with me to this day. I know she's looking down on me, and I hope she is proud of what I've accomplished. Despite such a tough loss, he managed again to overcome adversity and have a strong college career. As mentioned, he played at Kansas State University from 2001 to 2004, starting all games in the last 2 seasons and setting 23 school records. In 2003, he had a standout season, rushing for 1,986 yards and 16 touchdowns. He led Kansas State to a Big 12 Conference Championship where he had 235 rushing yards and 88 receiving yards against the number 1 ranked Oklahoma. He would finish 5th in Heisman Trophy voting that year. In 2004, he continued to impress, finishing the season with 1,318 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. He ended his career with the 6th most all-purpose yards in NCAA history and was inducted into the Kansas State Athletics Hall of Fame in 2021. He would finish his college career with more than 5,600 yards from scrimmage and 57 touchdowns. He would also graduate in 2004 with a degree in speech pathology. In 2005, Sproles arrived at Kansas State for the combine and performed well, but then his height was actually measured, just under 5'6". When it was announced, laughing echoed from the audience.
They called his name, and he stood up there, and they said his height, 5'6", and a lot of owners and a lot of coaches, giggling. He stepped on the scale, 170. They even laughed even harder.
They would tell me later that if I came in at 5'9" or even 5'8", I would have been a first-round pick. But in the end, it was the San Diego Chargers who drafted him in the 4th round at the 130th overall pick. Nobody could have predicted the career he would have. He was determined to use what others saw as a shortcoming into an asset. Quarterback Drew Brees saw what many teams couldn't. He's a stud, one of the greatest teammates I've ever had the chance to play with. I've said it before, I think he's a once-in-a-lifetime player. So in 2005, Sproles went to the Chargers as a 3rd-string running back, behind LaDainian Tomlinson and Michael Turner, returning kicks and punts. He then spent the entire 2006 season on the IR after breaking his ankle during the preseason. But that wouldn't stop him, because in 2007, he made history when he became the first player to return a kickoff and a punt for his first 2 touchdowns in the same game during the Chargers' 23-21 win over the Colts. He'd finished the 2007 season with 164 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, to go along with 10 receptions for 31 yards. On special teams, he had 37 kick returns for just over 1,000 net yards and a touchdown to go along with 24 punt returns for 229 net yards and a touchdown. From 2008 to 2010, he'd rack up 940 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, 1,359 receiving yards, and 11 receiving touchdowns. In 2011, he signed a 4-year contract worth $14 million with the New Orleans Saints as a free agent. And the Saints made the right choice, because he finished the 2011 season with 2,696 all-purpose yards, breaking the NFL single-season record, which was 2,690 yards set by Derek Mason in 2000. In 2012, he fractured his hand and missed the majority of the season. He bounced back in 2013, rushing for 220 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, 71 catches for 604 yards and 2 touchdowns, 12 kickoff returns for 225 yards, and 29 punt returns for 194 yards. He was then traded to the Eagles for a 5th-round pick in 2014. Sproles said that he found out about the trade on social media and felt disrespected by the way things were handled, but that wasn't going to affect his productivity on the field. In 2014, he ran for 329 yards and 6 touchdowns, 40 catches for 387 yards, and 39 punt returns for 506 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was second place on the Eagles' all-time single-season punt return yards and the most in the NFL in 2014. His performance earned him a selection in his first Pro Bowl, as well as being named second-team All-Pro as a return specialist. He would be selected to the Pro Bowl in 2015 and 2016 as well. From 2014 to 2019, he would continue having an impact, a total of 1,002 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns, 1,072 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns, as well as 61 punt returns for 634 yards and 2 touchdowns. After a dozen years making his mark on the league, the gas started to run low. He tore his ACL and broke his arm in the same play in 2017. Despite being injured most of that season, he would still get his ring as the Eagles went on to beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52. He re-signed with the Eagles on a 1-year contract in 2019, but a partially torn right hip flexor muscle would sideline him for 3 games. Upon returning, he would further aggravate the injury and ended up on IR. In December 2019, he announced that he would hang up his cleats. Every time I think about Darren, it's really one thing that constantly pops into my head. His former teammate said, "He makes you reconsider if you want to be great." And his trainer Todd Durkin reinforced this point, emphasizing Sproles' determination. I remember Darren specifically in a workout with LT, a future Hall of Famer, a guy like Drew, who had won a Super Bowl, and Sproles just setting the tone in the workout. The sacrifice that guy makes to be one of the best of all time. It's not something that a 5'6", 190-pound guy just stumbled across success on this. It's truly a testament to his character, his work ethic, his determination, his sacrifice, his everything. It's who Darren Sproles is. A long 14-season career, Sproles electrified the NFL as a rusher, averaging 4.9 yards per carry, with 4,840 receiving yards, and a special teamer, more than 11,000 kickoff and punt return yards. Sproles is one of only 31 players in NFL history with 3,500 career yards, both rushing and receiving. Of those 31, his 4.9 career rushing average is the highest. Hall of Famer Lenny Moore is second at 4.8. Sproles' 9 combined punt and kick returns are the 6th most in NFL history. He is the only player in NFL history with 2,500 yards rushing, receiving, returning kicks, and returning punts. And only 15 players in NFL history, 5'6" or smaller, have reached 1,000 all-purpose yards. Number 2 in that category, Buddy Young, who played from 1947 to 1955, finished with 9,593 yards, more than 10,000 less than Sproles. And that is the amazing story and career of Darren Sproles. Alright, thanks for watching.